Welcome to the Tribute Lounge. I'm Mark Fawcett.
And I'm Shane Johnson. And today we're talking about Union 2024, but specifically this bad boy right here. We're going to key in on how the new Union Force fits in among all these guys. And we were lucky enough to ride it quite a bit end of last season, rolling into this season. So we're going to start right here. So today, like I said, we want to really deep dive this binding. It's brand new. We're so excited that Union's finally, well, I shouldn't say finally, the Classic was amazing binding.
Classic was classic.
It was classic. It was the #1 binding for arguably a lot of shops. So this update is huge. We both got a good chance to ride it. Fozzie got to ride that a lot. So Mark, we might as well start with you. You'll notice here, though, we do have a computer. I want to get some of the tech points that you guys love. We want to get it right. But as we always do with this show, it's riding impressions. We're going to tell you how it was when we wrote it in our own words, and I'll throw in some of the jargon when you need it. So if you need me to look something up, Fozzie, we've got it here.
All right.
Yeah.
How to make a good pesto pasta.
Yeah, I love pesto pasta. That's good stuff.
Actually, I know how to do that. So one of the big things you notice right off the get-go with this binding, and this came from like a lot of rider feedback, is the new ankle strap. So this is an ExoFrame 6.0 ankle strap with molecular padding. So it has this, compared to those like bulky, like, you know, catching mitt padding that we used to have from yesteryear.
No, this
is like this sleek little thin EVA pad that goes just underneath what would traditionally be an ExoFrame ankle strap. So the combo of the two was so comfortable, had also a little bit of shear. I would say one of the concepts of this binding, also going into something in a second, is that you have a lot of good natural lateral movement with this binding. So like those of you that like to do like stale fishes and tweak your airs out,
totally, man.
Side hits,
Yep.
This thing's amazing.
Well, and that's all added comfort. So something, I went to the Ultra last year because of that strap. I saw the strap. Same EVA here. Man, is that comfortable, but you can get that tweak out of the binding again. And this, you know, that was probably the second thing I noticed as, for me, an upgrade from the Force, now the Force Classic.
And don't get me wrong, the ankle strap holds you in unbelievably. So it's really tight, that ExoFrame that's classic from Union for a few years now, like really has you cranked in. You just have that little bit of ability to shear away laterally in particular. The other big thing is the molecular bushing system.
This is so rad.
Really clever. So it's a newer system, brand new system, and it's really, from what I can tell, it's only on the Force. And what it's gonna do is in your 4 sort of critical corners of the binding, it allows it to flex resisted. It's not sloppy, but allows it to flex vertically, which would allow you to
Medial-lateral,
laterally, essentially laterally, you're gonna be able to get that resisted flex. Play is this, flex is, you gotta push on it and it'll give for you. And it felt like that. And it's funny, I didn't really take a good look at them. I rode them first, then took a good look, and I'm like, no wonder I had that feeling. Like
and chatter, right? That's gonna be anti-chatter, which I think is gonna be a huge upgrade from the last one as well.
It's a super damp binding, definitely.
And again, probably what I loved about the Ultra, which we'll talk about shortly, but again, the way they did that base plate really dampened my board. And there was some icy days we had last year. It wasn't all dreamy in the Kootenays, and that was advantageous, as this will be. Next, we should probably talk about the Highback, because this was something this was my #1. What I noticed right away was how it cradled. Again, we're talking about that same EVA, and man, is it ever comfy.
So it's a non-stick HP EVA is what they call it, and it's on the Highback and the foot pedal. And the foot pedal's this really beautiful, pretty much just one piece fills in the whole footboard. And I really like that. And it is quite non-stick. I had it out on a day where it was cold up top, warm at the bottom. Those classic buildup of ice and snow. Normally you get that stuff in there, and it was not happening. So it really works.
This has a little bit, you know, the density's really nice too, where again, as we're talking about throughout this binding, everything it's doing is dampening your ride. You know, and this gas pedal zone is doing the same. So on a toe turn, if you skip out, it's not going to jar your shins. It's not going to give you that sharpness that, you know, bindings, say 10, 12 years ago were doing to us.
Definitely a comfortable binding. You ride it all day and you don't have foot pain. Going back to that Highback again, sorry, I robbed it away from you when we were talking about the Highback. A really simple forward lean, toolless block on the back with lots of adjustment. It's a symmetrical Highback. There's only 2 bindings that I could see on the Union line. This and the Falcor that have a symmetrical Highback. A lot of them have a bit of a flare to the outside when you
as well, but yes.
Yep. Oh, and
where
the classic
this came from.
and the classic.
Yep.
So yeah. So Forces and the Falcor have a symmetrical Highback, but you know, kind of keeping in that force zone with, like, you know, the holes where you just to save weight really and give a little bit more flex. It was a high-performing Highback. I had lots of response, but not too much. There are some Highbacks that I find are just a little too much. I don't love a super, super stiff Highback. I like to have a little bit of give, and these were great.
And same with me. That's why this was the #1 difference for me, from the classic to the new Force. That's what I noticed the most. But this does cradle you in a different way, and almost in the way the ergonomic Highbacks do, right?
Yeah.
It's the way they've shaped it. It's not a horseshoe by any means, but there's just enough. And then the flare out back, there's no pressure point, but on a heel side turn, you get that cradle, especially if you're powering in. And I ride, as you know, hard angles. So for me, I did twist this. The 1 point, you can tweak the Highback, so they are adjustable. And yeah, it cradles perfect.
Rotatable. Yeah, rotatable Highbacks. So yeah, that's in there for sure.
Magnesium buckles, and they are the S2 ratchets, which, you know, as we know from everything Union, bomb-proof. It just doesn't matter if it's...
Spring keeps working forever and ever. Yeah.
Cold doesn't matter. It's magnesium. It doesn't change its molecular structure all that much in varying temperatures, and that's key with that stuff. Same thing you get with your extruded aluminum heel cup, full adjustability like all Union bindings, lifetime warranty down here on our base plate.
Yeah, base plate's a Stage 9 Duraflex ST.
ST base plate, yep.
So again, this one would be a little different than the years past with the bushing system, molecular bushing system. But generally the same shape and
Union's rating
dynamics.
That at about a 7 out of 10 for rigidness of the base plate itself.
I would concur with that.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I would concur with that. Knowing that the Atlas Pro and an FC, those are the 9 and 10.
Yep.
This would definitely be about a 7.
So we do get a price increase this year, but it's not crazy. In Canada, it's about $70 increase from the Classic to the new Force, and that will put it right above here, the actual price. I think that's very fair.
It's super fair.
The upgrades we have here this is insane. Like, this is as crazy we went on the Megadeth, how excited we were about all those improvements and everything that came about that. This binding as well is...
Yeah, this is, I would say Union in general is really good bang for your buck, but within that, this might be the best one. This might have the best performance to dollar value out of the Union lineup. Certainly matched up with a few of the other ones.
Oh, but, yeah. So free riding.
If you're not wanting to spend $500-600 on a pair of bindings.
Yeah. So we're talking...
A set of bindings. Would it be a pair of bindings or a set of bindings?
Set of bindings. Pair of bindings.
Pair of bindings would be...
Pair of shoes, pair of bindings.
There's 2 of them, but would that mean two sets?
So we have free riding. We have freestyle. I think this covers both. I think the tweakability, I think if you're a surfier free rider, even if you're an aggressive free rider, all mountain rider, this is gonna work. This binding is gonna cover all of it the same way I found the Ultra being a little more leaning freestyle. This is gonna lean a little more all mountain, but
Just barely.
just barely. I think both those live in a very similar
I think
land.
a really strong freestyle rider would love this. If if they're like
Absolutely.
a stronger, sort of more power rider, and then just that ability to have that natural lateral flex is so nice.
And we're staying with a full disc size on this one, so it's going to be, on the board. That's adding rigidity to the board. So what we'll do now is we're going to line up all the bindings, not every model from Union, but ones we want to key in on, just so you see where the force fits in the line from Union for 2024. So this is the lineup we brought down from upstairs today. We wanted to show you kind of where the new force lands. And I should mention that everything we discussed with the new force also makes its way into the women's trilogy. So in amazing colors. The gals actually got kind of better colors than we did. But everything will just be a little more women specific. So the Highback's gonna be trimmed down a bit, the tray's gonna be narrower, straps are gonna be shorter, so on and so forth, but the tech is there. Nothing's changed in that sense, same price. We have a women's binding down here that we'll discuss too instead of the men's. But I just wanted to make sure everybody's well aware, the trilogy and the force, same binding essentially.
Yep. And then what we're missing here is the FC
Atlas FC.
at the sort of high end of the price point range, and the
Force Classic would be right here.
we're missing that, and
then the
Flight.
The Flight Pro at this end. The table barely would have fit, but this is what we're here to talk about. But Union's overview, the 2024 series this year is all worth talking about. So we're gonna key in and just make our way down as to who's that binding for, where do you fit in when you're maybe making this decision, and then we'll also make note of the missing bindings too. And Fawzy rides the Atlas Pro way more than I do. That binding is for dudes that are really trenching. And well, it's for everything, but I'm a little bit smaller, maybe not as much power. I kind of live down here. But anyway, Mark, you know that binding very well.
Yeah, so in riding with the Italian crew from Union and the engineers,
Martino and his family when they came through.
And one of the engineers described this as the scalpel. I totally concur with that. Really responsive. It's stiff, certainly toe to heel. It's stiff. It will
Stage 7 Duraflex built through the bottom.
Yeah, I mean all the materials, even into the footboard and the composites within that. Like everything about this thing is stiff. Runs a
full-size
disc,
and that's the Vapor Light
and the
HD.
Vapor Light HD. So we got a little thin, nice little layer of dampening and grip on the board.
And it doesn't leave marks on a
Not
snowboard
at all.
most Union bindings.
Yeah.
They're not going to mark up your board all that much, and that's something to think about.
So like simple, stiffish, high back. It's got a good flare on there for those that you're moving laterally a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's gotcha. Love this thing for a lot of different reasons. I mean, it's for heavy hitters, I would say.
Yeah.
And people that really torque on and want to be able to torque on it and get a lot of response.
Incredibly
More than anything.
comfortable,
Yep, it's quite
stiff.
comfortable, but it's stiff and it's responsive for sure.
Yeah, so that's living at the premium there. Then we move to T. Ricky's binding here.
Falcor.
The Falcor.
So I love this high back. Like it's such a great little concept that gives you this super serious spine. So like going straight back into the high back, really stiff. It's a symmetrical high back. Again,
Crazy lightweight.
So it's really light. So stiffness to weight ratio, this thing's pretty insane. Does run a mini disc, which I really like for certain boards I get on that I want to be able to stack that back foot all the way back there. Or for those people that like 26-inch stances, mini disc is great.
Stage 6 Duraflex on this one.
Yep.
So you're not softening all that much
No,
by any means.
No. I mean, it's definitely got a little bit of a softer base than the Atlas Pro, for sure.
All mountain freestyle lending, to maybe a little bit more down into that realm. The strap on the Falcor 2, this is the Exoframe 5.0. This update was huge. Everybody, everyone that comes into the shop that is looking for that binding, that's been a big part of it. That new toe strap and that new ankle strap from a couple years ago were a wicked upgrade. And again, living in the all mountain freestyle zone. Then we move down to the
Atlas.
little brother to the Pro, so to speak.
Yeah, and this is what a lot of our shop guys run, is just the standard Atlas. A little bit softer base tray, really similar, if not the exact same Highback actually. Straps are a little bit softer, so it's another exoframe style strap. Price comes down a bunch. The weight goes up a little. I mean, these two top ones, like once you get over $500, like the weight drops, you know, so you're
But we're
paying
still
for that.
stage 7 Duraflex.
Yeah, it's a fantastic binding.
This is the
Again,
one I
this
go
is-
to.
This is our shop,
Yeah.
our shop guys ride this binding.
That for bank slalom, that for, you know, I know it's going to be variable conditions. It's maybe not as powing out where I would lend myself to this guy. That's
Shane's a
that's
big
the
fan of
binding.
the Ultra, if you haven't noticed.
The Ultra is amazing because I love how it came in as a freestyle binding, which I am not claiming to be a freestyle guy at all. But to me, it's the best freaking free ride binding they've ever come out with. I love the thing. But anyway, yeah. So moving on, we get to now the showstopper of the day, the new Force, and that's sort of what we wanted you guys to see, where this lives. But the benefits here with everything new, it's a real tough call here now. I understand where people are going there, but these two, I think we'll see a lot of competition upstairs as to which binding.
You know, my take on this, like pretty darn stiff and ultra responsive. This, a little bit more forgiving, little less responsive, definitely more lateral flex on this one.
Which I like.
Which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people want to be just locked in there, and then they're gonna, you know, you talk to them about that, and like responsiveness, they want the Atlas.
Yeah.
But like the Force has such a nice little place. I run pretty stiff boots and aggressive boards. I can't stack all three, so I struggle with, like, if I have my stiffest boots, my gnarly board, I can't put this on there. Like, I can't have all three of them super stiff and responsive. So I loved this binding when I was trying it out with my stiffer boots, just because of its lateral mobility. Still had plenty of responsiveness toe to heel. That high back just had just the right amount of sort of flexy give. I wasn't overpowering it. I never like totally folded it over, but I wasn't getting those digs in the back of the calf at all on this binding. And then again, the straps compared to the Atlas, you know, when you go up in comfort, you just get that more, I just use the word, forgiveness.
Yeah. So then moving from that guy, which, I mean, I think this will be my dilemma this year probably, but as Fozzie said, everybody knows I absolutely adore this binding. This, like kudos Union. This thing is just fantastic. So I love a damp binding, but I love something where I can get that comfort, tweakability, but still, this is really responsive. I mean, I'm a lighter guy, but for me, this is a crazy responsive binding still. Yeah, the freestyle aspects of it give it, you know, you're going to have that movement. You're going to have that tweakability, but that goes over into the free ride world so well. And that's where, you know, we saw Arthur Longo ride this quite often when he was here. And if you see the She episodes on their way out, Arthur's riding an Ultra a fair bit. I think he was bouncing between these two, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's good reason for it. Mini disc, crazy adjustability on a board. It's the other thing I like. I really ride boards in the back seat, sometimes a stupid amount. I'm all the way back and extra because I can get that with the mini disc.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, that's another play for what Travis is doing on the Falcor too. You get some cool adjustability with that. But yeah, I mean, the Ultra's gonna be my pick all day, but this is kind of where it lives in here. But as we're talking about the type of rider, this is gonna lend to your freestyle guy. This is gonna lend to sometimes somebody that just wants that tweakability for pow riding, me. Also comes in a women's model. Again, all these things are identical, just designed in the specs for a lady, basically. And speaking of ladies, we move...
People with smaller feet.
Smaller feet, yeah. Well,
Shorter,
we've actually
shorter
sold them to
tib
kids.
fib.
Yeah,
You totally can.
We've sold them to kids.
And you can sell them to someone who comes in and it's just, you know, a young guy, what have you, that has like a smaller foot, shorter tib fib. That's why the high backs are lower. That's why the straps are shorter. That's why the tray is narrower.
Yep. This Highback too, I will say, you know, it has a little bit more forgiveness, but the comfort it's all day. This thing is absolutely fantastic. And it has, you know, has the ergonomics, so you never get those pinch points. There's no pressure digging in. And with this one, I just leave it as is. You don't have to make any adjustment.
I think one of the reasons Shane really likes it, there's a lot of...
Well, you look at that.
You look at the base plate, and it's a really minimalistic, it's almost really just like a perimeter of base plate, and then the rest of it's just all this lovely foam, and you get a good feel for the board, but it's pretty thick in there too. So tons of absorption of any of that harshness and such. And then between the disc and the straps and stuff, you're still able to lever the board around.
And I've had that on an indoor survival. I've had this on a Karua Dart. I've had this on that Burton reissue Craig Kelly. It's I don't know, it works with everything. It's kind of been my everyday. I haven't really had to stray from this one. So then we're gonna move down one to the Women's Legacy and also the Men's Strata. Same binding as we're talking about a few of these that are always gonna share the technology, just either toned down or shortened in the Highback sense. But with the Strata, I think some of the things I love about the Ultra, I used to ride this too. You know, we have a mini disc here. We're into, it's stage 6 Duraflex ST with this one, but you still have that big old EVA pad down here.
So it's a minimalistic base plate, and then everything else is filled in with EVA.
Exactly. We're getting aluminum ratchets on this model. We're coming down in price a little bit. The Highback is simplified in the way that there's just no EVA built in there. But the concept with that is you've got so much boot between this and the Highback anyway. This is a way to really drop some weight and just simplify it overall. It has one of my favorite Highback adjusters too. It's just, again, dead simple, screw, spin it around. So easy on that. And then this strap was another thing that when they came out with the Strata, this is why we were selling a lot. It was the bone out hole,
I was
right?
just gonna say,
the
it
old
looks like
bone
bone
hole.
out, yeah.
And it's the Forma strap, and I still think it's a mix of EVA and then negative space, which is genius. It's very comfy because of that.
Yeah.
Incredibly comfy.
Yeah, that classic spot that it gets you, just don't put anything there.
Yeah. So that's again going to the freestyle realm, but to me still a wicked all mountain binding. I mean, it's just softer. It's just going to give you more remedial, and you know, that tweakability goes into free riding as much as it goes into freestyle. And then lastly of our lineup, although there is one more, this beauty, the STR.
It's great.
This for the money is, I still can't believe how much binding
it
you
actually
get for
reminds
the money.
me a lot of a toned down Atlas.
And that's
Like if you line
line
them up like a really smooth, solid footboard on there, and the strap system. It's an exo strap system, very similar Highback. So it's an asymmetric Highback. Little bit of EVA on there. Simple block adjustment for the forward lean. Toolless on that one again.
This is our guy. I mean, this is our guy on a budget a lot of the time. We get folks that roll into the Kootenays that worked all summer and they've saved up what they can and they're just here to shred. They're not gonna do a bartending job. They're not doing anything. They're here to ride. And they've got a limited bank, and you know what? This binding ends up on a lot of boards, and this binding performs.
Yeah, totally performs.
It performs.
Yeah, overall flex, they call it a 6 out of 10. A lot of people want that.
Yep. Got Duraflex 5 on this one.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of base plate on there, actually.
You still get that damp feel.
Compared to the Ultra or the Strata, it's got quite a bit of base plate. That's why I sort of envision it more almost like a little brother to the Atlas. You know, it's still quite responsive. And then you just get some like overall material flex in it.
Totally.
Light too.
Totally. Pricing for that one we'll put up top, but I think I have it here. Yeah, $299 Canadian on that, which is, you know, that's
bang for your buck
incredible.
within the sort of more price point range. This is such a great binding.
And then the one below it will come in at the Flight Pros, and those guys will come in at $219. So it's about an $80 jump from what our base is going to be, which is still an amazing binding, and to jump to this guy. And that's why I find this one is you know, this is your go-to if you're trying to watch your cash.
Trying to watch your cash, but you want a responsive, performance binding, for sure.
Yep. And as with all unions, lifetime warranty on the base plate, toolless adjustment throughout everything. You know, I can't say enough about the lineup.
Except for this one.
The past couple of years. Is that one? Oh, look at that.
Which I actually like, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Everything else
I'll let you have that one, Shane.
okay, but it's toolless here. Come on,
Yeah.
everywhere else.
So
There's one Phillips on there. Number 3 Phillips needs to be in your pocket. That's the gambit that we decided to bring down, really to introduce you to this new beauty, which we're super excited about. And again, thanks for watching the Tribute Lounge. We've bumped up our subscribers quite a bit, and can't thank you guys enough. It's been amazing. You'll notice we switched things up a little bit in here, and finally, post-flood, we're back in the flow, and we've got Wi-Fi down here that works. So you'll see some podcasts in the future. We're going to have a couple more pro visits, which have been fantastic. I've been stoked on that. And watch for what's coming.
May the force be with you.